Good evening. Long time no see. Look at that. You can add up to 3 people to your live video. Isn't that interesting? We'll see if anybody even notices I'm here. It's been a while since I've been live on Facebook. And apparently my page was taken down. I don't know what went on there. Nobody told me. Strange scenario in that situation. I had been restricted on my 𝐊𝐿𝐵𝒂𝒍𝒂𝒍𝒂𝒍𝒂𝒍𝒂 page since like earlier in the summer. And I don't know what happened. I had tried to file a report, but I never got any response. And then just one day, a few weeks ago, all of a sudden it was gone. Good to see you, Dave. I am doing fabulous. Life is grand. Staying off of social media, kinda. I spend more time on Instagram, and I do a lot more videos on YouTube live because I just feel like might as well just go straight live on YouTube, because then I don't have to upload to YouTube and y'all can watch it at a faster speed and at your leisure. You don't have to be stuck on YouTube, on the Facebook or Instagram forum. So I am eating ice cream made with banana, with ginger, some turmeric. It's kind of like my version of a what do we call them? Golden milk ice cream. Really good for inflammation. What kind of business did you start, Dave? I try not to have chocolate at night. I don't need the extra boost in caffeine or just keeping me up. Figured I'd wait a little bit before I go into the reasons that I'm on here. Well, happy, and by the way, happy winter solstice. So if you're just joining, this is a golden milk. No milk in it, but turmeric, ginger, some herbal blends like ashwagandha and lucuma and mesquite. Lots of ginger. Fenugreek is really good for you. Some nettle root powder, some horsetail powder. Yummy, yummy. Oh, very nice. Handyman work, mansion cleaning, residential power washing. I hear you. That's, hey, you know, there's a demand for it. And God bless you, because everybody needs a hand. No matter what it is, find your niche if you're good at something and follow it. Hello, Vicky. So someone reached out to me recently and asked me the strangest question ever. Said that there were rumors, and I was like, okay, what's the rumor? I'm always the last to know when people are talking about me, by the way. This is kind of like the story of my life, and I find it hilarious. Here's why. Why doesn't anybody ever just come directly and ask me? What is so difficult? You want to know the answer to a question? Ask the individual you're talking about. Don't turn around and start speaking rumors, because rumors are harmful. Number one, it's harmful to the other person because you're not actually being forthright and honest to speak up and ask. And number two, it's harmful to you because when you turn around and talk about other people, that just shows your addiction to drama and how you like to perpetuate trauma. And so when you talk about other people, that's a distraction from actually talking about yourself and dealing with your own life. So if you're living off the drama of what you're creating of other people's stories, because you're creating the story, doesn't make it true. Just because you think or you assume, you're actually making it worse. Not for the other person, because I mean, I'm going to go live my life. I'm not worried. If you want to talk about me, it's none of my business. But if someone comes to me and tells me about something, I'm like, what? Doesn't bother me. And on the other hand, I just want to dispel it, because obviously a lot of people don't know me, and I get that, and that's okay. The irony is that for me, when I close the door, that fucker's locked. Period. End of story, end of questions, right? So somebody actually reached out and said, and I'm not bringing up names because that's not my behavior. They actually asked me if I was back with Tom, because I guess maybe him and Brandy had a breakup, and that doesn't mean they're done, because he has a way of being manipulative in relationship. And I was like, oh, hell no. When I kicked him out, it was for good. And when I told him I didn't want anything to do with him, I didn't want anything to do with him. I was done with the manipulation and the mind games and the taking and never reciprocating. Like, seriously, it was done, right? And he's the longest I actually let someone stick around in my life like that. There was a part of me, and for anybody out there that's been following us when we were doing Ridiculously Authentic, I genuinely signed up with both feet in to serve. But he was trying to control me from the start. Like, he wanted to be the one running the show and act like he was the one that he built me up. But then he fucking took everything as he walked out the door. Like, he kept manipulating and taking away my admin rights and stuff like that. When he would get mad, when he was throwing a baby tantrum, when he didn't get his way, he would take everything and then later be like, I'd never take it away from you. Like, we equally built it together. It wasn't all him, although he would probably tell you that. It was all him, because that's all he got. You know, he moved into my house. He wasn't paying rent. He didn't pay for any utilities. And when I did ask him for money one time, because he got some money in, he proceeded to go off on me about asking for a couple $100 for electric bills. One time. He was with me for 2 years, people. I fortunately own my house because I'm a responsible person. But he brought his irresponsibility in my home. Everything from him getting his car repoed, which I told him from the start, pick up the phone and negotiate with the bank. Call them and do something responsible. Instead, he wanted to yell at me for answering the door one day and receiving a FedEx letter in the mail that was assigned to him. And I was like, I'm not responsible for your shit. Clean up your shit. I gave him a couple $1,000s to help him with his daughter for the situation where he wasn't paying child support. I really don't know that he ever had a conversation with his ex-wife. He just assumed because his ex-wife is married to someone and they make good money that it was okay that he didn't have to pay anything. And then he proceeded to rack up credit card debt and then never pay it. And then when I did ask him to get a job, he's like, are you going to get a job? I was already working, honey. I was already doing my part. Like, he was total narcissist, okay? So I'm just spilling it all out because I got nothing to hide. And I will say one thing that nobody ever heard. And this one just was like, really? You think I'm that gullible? You think I'm that fucking stupid? Yeah, I'm a little F-bomber tonight. Because I got one of those attitudes. This is my new theme for the new year. Don't fuck with me. You can fuck off. That is my new motto. You know why? Because I'm not tolerating takers anymore. I'm not here to just be in service without reciprocity, because there have been a lot of people show up in my life, think I got nothing better to do but be at their whim and their leisure. Everything from my neighbors pulling their shit. Like, I'm over here living my peaceful life. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm not fucking with you. Quit creating drama in my life because your life sucks. You got trauma? Take that drama elsewhere. There you go. And I'm real easy to get along with. You just don't piss me off, because then you're cut off. My family is tight. One of the things I had a problem with Tom is he kept on trying to manipulate and think that he could turn around and act like he was shitty toward my dad, and that was a big piss me off. And I'm like, dude, that was done cool, right? And he thought he could pull off some little games with that, like, your dad needs to call before he comes over, especially after my mom passed. I'm like, he can come over whenever the hell he wants. And the little things like, you know, how long are you gonna milk that? When my mom passed, I'm like, oh, fuck off. You did not say that to me. Get out of my face. Or when I had my appendectomy, oh, I'm gonna take care of you. the reason I ended up in the hospital was because of him. Because he was mad that I went to a marketing event for artists, and it was a networking opportunity. I came home excited, and I wanted to share what I had heard and what I had learned. And he proceeded to go into, what am I doing here? I'm doing everything for you. No, he wasn't. He only did what he wanted to do. He only extended him to the extent that he wanted to extend himself. As long as it got him something in return, he would do it. Otherwise, he kept throwing more and more stuff on my lap. He just hid in the bedroom, didn't do a damn thing. I couldn't get him to clean the house. God forbid. Oh my gosh. And if I even criticized him the slightest bit, he'd throw a fit. It would turn into a big argument, and that would be an opportunity for him to pull the admin rights off of our group, our page, and all of our social media. And I'm like, if it wasn't for me, first off, that wonderful YouTube channel he can monetize off of because of me, because most of those videos are mine. I didn't get access to that. I never got access to any of that. Then he took the group, made sure to take that group that we built, and it took a long time, a lot of sleepless nights, sharing and inviting people from my accounts. And then he got his accounts all hacked and cut off and deleted. My original account got deleted 2 years ago. And I think the biggest stress was just him being in my home, because ultimately I was doing everything from cooking, cleaning, paying the bills, cleaning up after his ass, because he wasn't doing a damn thing except for sitting on the phone and doing social media and then pretending like he was doing something for me. And then when he never did anything he promised. He was real good at taking and not giving back, okay? And if something didn't go his way, it became a big blowout argument. So I ended up in the hospital because he blew up on me because I mentioned anything about this marketing. And then he's like, well, then fine, you go do your own thing. You take care of your... He would look for any excuse to not be responsible for what he promised. And then he never followed through with, by the way. That's a typical standard narcissist. They'll just do whatever they can to get by, trying to manipulate and control and twist your words and use them against you. Now, I truly believe the universe brought him into my life. Number one, first off, Buddy was looking for me because Buddy's still with me. Second, I really believe he was brought into my life so that I could have the experience of a full-on narcissistic relationship, so that I could witness it and know what it was like, and that I can also work with others who've been in it, and to be able to offer guidance and assistance, because I can spot it a mile away. I already spotted it with him anyway, because I was sitting there going, what do you think, I'm stupid? You're using my words and trying to twist them, and I'm standing here listening to you, shaking my head. And I mean, I actually saw him regress into a child one day. He was cornered and he was curled up in a ball, sitting in the corner in the other room, and he's like, you never really liked me either, I bet. You know, like, he had this whole childlike thing. Like, this was... He's got some deep trauma. Narcissists aren't just narcissists because they're nasty people. Just like bullies aren't just bullies because they become bullies. They were bullied first. He was clearly bullied in his life, and his parents or whatever environment he was raised in was around narcissists. You can't know it unless you've experienced it, and they witness the behavior and then they adopt it. Because they figure if that's how they were able to be controlled, well, maybe they can gain control, right? So somebody had reached out and said, I heard you were back. I heard a rumor. And I'm like, really? Really? I'm like, oh, hell no. When I close a door, I'm done with it. I'm over it and I'm living my life. I don't have a clue. It's like a whole nother freaking life for me. I don't look back on that with any remorse, any like, oh, I wish I had, I wish I hadn't. Are you kidding me? I'm glad it's over. I'm so grateful because I learned a lot about myself. I learned not to doubt myself, especially because he kept trying to tell me how I couldn't do things, and he was very good at cutting down, but I'm sitting there listening to him going, I don't believe it. That's not my truth. And so I know a lot of people, you might not have been able to read between the lines, but a lot of times when I did my long walks and I did my waterfront videos, those are usually after a fight with him. And I would be moving my body because that's how I deal with it. If I get pissed off, I got to walk it out. I got to shake it out. I got to move my body. I got to do something to shift that shit and energy out of me because that's not mine. And I'm not here to take on other people's shit. I really am not. I'm a strong woman, but I'm also the type of person that when I ask for help, it's because I need it. It's not because I want to have an argument. And he just would not, he wouldn't collaborate. He was competitive. See, that's a problem. If you enter a relationship and the other person is competitive, that's not a healthy relationship. Kick that shit to the curb. If you're not starting out a relationship with an agreement that you're going to go in one and one, all in, both feet, you're not there to take or drag the other one down. You're there to uplift them, help them shine. Yes. Right? Right, Nicole? Yeah, Leo energy says, don't fuck with me. I'm going to go get this shit out of myself. So, here's another thing. There's a certain point, and I'm trying to think when it happened. He got a little bit worried, and I think it was because of my mom passing away. He made some comment. Well, I'm concerned. Like, if something happened to you, what would happen to me? Like, all of a sudden, at some point, he was worried about not having a home. Now, I have to admit, one of the only reasons he was still in my home was I didn't want to kick him out on the street because I'm not that kind of person. So I had already given him advance notice that he needed to start looking, and he kept saying, oh, I'm going to need a few months, okay? And there were several times he would take off, and he broke up with me like as if we were really something. I'm not even going to go into the stuff that happened behind the scenes. I'll just say this. It wasn't meant to be, period. The body knows. And he felt rejected, or he felt inadequate in his mind, to where he said he tried to reject me and play the game. Okay, so here's the game. When someone proceeds to act like they don't want to be with you, when the reality is they can't be with you because their body's not like living up to the expectation in the intimate department, let's just say that. So it was easier for him to act like he was rejecting me, and I was just like, whatever, dude, I'm fine with that. It wasn't anything to write home like, wow, kapow. No, it was like, phew, sorry. Boys, I'm just going to say this, and ladies, listen up. If he can't get it up, it's probably because even his dick knows it's not supposed to be inside of you. When an alpha has a beta show up to her, the beta will know it can't handle it. And that's exactly what happened. So when he couldn't rise to the occasion, and it wasn't just once, it wasn't just twice, sadly, it happened at least 3 times. And each time I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I knew it wasn't me. I knew it wasn't me. I'm just saying that. And this is the problem with women. Women, we try to think, well, there's got to be something I can do to help you. Okay, every woman listen up. Fuck that shit, move on. If his dick can't get hard in you, that's usually his issue, not yours. Don't try to fix it for him. You don't need that. You really don't. I'm just saying. So, anyway, that happened around the time he went to Orlando and his truck broke down because of the tire going flat. I drove all the way out there to pick up his ass, too. So many times I was having to pick up the pieces of his mess and his bullshit. So I had to drive all the way to Orlando after I had something else was going on that I was committed to. I drive out there. I used my AAA to fix his car. And then we come back, or we went to the hotel. That wasn't so great either, right? So then we come back. And that was the last time I was intimate with him. And that was I think that was February. It was around his birthday, I believe. It was about February of 2018 before my mom passed away. So it's been almost 4 years since I've been with anybody. Waste of my time and my energy. This is why I'm single. This is why I'm celibate. And this is why I'm so damn picky. There ain't nobody get into the temple until you've at least stimulated my mind first. And relationships, if you don't start out on the intellectual level first, the intimacies, if that's all you got nothing. You got nothing, I'm sorry. At least once you've gotten past the point of knowing what you have or you don't have in common, then move on to the next step. But we see, this is the problem with humans. They all think, oh, I got to have chemistry. We have to have something that draws us to each other. No, I'm sorry. Here's what that is. Chemistry is a reminder of where you've been in relationships in the past. It's a repeat performance showing up to you. Hey, did you learn the lesson? If you got chemistry, you're going in for another round of you've been there, done that. The question is whether or not you learn the lesson. Are you going to collect the t-shirt once again? It's usually tattered and rattered and like ripped up. I'm just telling. So there was that. And then when my mom passed away, there was an argument before that. Before I found out my mom was in the hospital was when the FedEx showed up with the letter from his bank stating that they wanted to repossess his vehicle. After I had already told him, you need to take care of that. Be adult. Take care of your responsibilities. He just kept on avoiding it. I mean, for me, I know how to take care of my finances and I know how to budget, or I wouldn't have been able to handle all that stuff. Because in the end, I was having to really whittle, like from the first few months that he was living with me, he ate me out of house and home. I had lots of stuff stocked up in I had lots of things going on that I was like, he didn't give me anything in return. Yeah, he ran up some credit card bills, but let me tell you, when you want to find out, the funny parts were that when he would show up at the house and he went to Costco and bought a bunch of stuff and claimed I spent my money. So he implied that I had to give him money to reimburse him. So he actually got the money twice because he didn't pay back the credit cards. It wasn't really his money. It was just on credit. And then I got the double whammy because then he made me feel like I had to pay him back too. It was just ridiculous. And so we had a fight about it because he got mad that I answered the door and I had received the letter. And so I went back to FedEx and just apologized and handed it back. But he was going off on me like, you need to do it. Like, dude, this is your shit, not mine. You brought this mess into my home. I'm a responsible adult. You don't go off on a responsible adult when you're the one being irresponsible, but that's displacement. That's the whole narcissistic game. Let me make a fight out of something that really is to distract you from the fact that I'm not going to look at my own shit. He was unable to deal with his own stuff, that he would project it and use it against me. Like, see how narcissists, they do that? It's like, really? The Jedi mind trick goes so deep, and what it really is their own inadequacies. It's their own weaknesses. When a person tries to control you, they're just showing you their weakness. And then it usually shows you that they themselves can't control themselves when they try to control you. So in that way, they think if they can control you, they gain control over themselves, which is the biggest lie ever told to themselves. Because when you lie to yourself, you're creating more problems, more drama, more trauma in your life. So then I got home and I went in my room and I shut the door. I had done a video before that too. So I'm in the bedroom and my sister calls me up and tells me my mom's in the hospital and she's in a coma because she had cardiac arrest. And I'm like, the immediate thoughts going through my mind were, I'm going to go pick up my mom. I'm going to bring her back here. I'm going to take care of my mom. That was my mindset at the time. The question in my mind was, am I going to drive the car? Am I going to jump on a plane? How am I going to handle this? My mind was already twirling. He hears me crying because it's starting to come to me. But see, I immediately go into next step scenario. He walks in acting like he's going to take control of the situation and this is what we're going to do. And I'm just like, you think you're in control. But at the same time, I'm like, I already know what I'm doing. So we ended up driving the car up to Omaha, Nebraska, obviously. As you all can go through the old videos. They're on YouTube, on the Ridiculously Authentic. They're on the page. The only thing I do have is the page. I had to create a whole new group. But the way he behaved with my family when we were up in Omaha was really disgusting. He treated my middle sister, Lita, like crap because he didn't know how to handle the mental illness my sister deals with. And my sister at one point was like, you wait till my sister gets back. Like, she was calling him out on shit. And that says a lot, because when my sister calls you out, she's not stupid. You may think she has a mental illness. She's not ignorant. She's not at all. She's much smarter than most people give her credit for. My sister and I always say that. So after all that stuff went down, and then on my way back, and he proceeded to try to tell some of my stuff that was private between me and my family, and I was on a live video, and I looked at him like, you motherfucker, I had already said to you, don't you dare reveal personal stuff from my family. I was pissed off at him, and then I cut out the live, and I didn't post that video. If I'm not mistaken, I took that video down. Only a few people might have heard it. But he proceeded to tear into me like I'm supposed to tell about it, like I'm supposed to share that. I said, no, I don't need to share that. That's between me and my sisters. I said, I already told you I do not want to reveal that. That is personal and private to me and my family. And he couldn't argue it, but he tried, because that was his thing, always about being right. So my birthday really sucked. I was really pissed off, and I couldn't even express myself in my own fucking home. I couldn't even scream and yell. Like, I really was really pissed off. I was really pissed off because I couldn't talk to my mom. My mom was always the first person to call me when it was my birthday. She'd call me right after midnight the night before. And meanwhile, like, here he was, like a bull in a china shop. He turned lights on, make the house all bright when I was trying to sleep. Oh, this is the best one. Y'all didn't know this story. When we were in Omaha, we had to rush back here to Florida because instead of allowing my neighbor to have the key to the house, he proceeded to turn around and say, well, just leave the back door open so that you can let Buddy in and out of the back door. I had a problem with that. I should have just stuck to my own guns. What ended up happening was his Buddy accidentally, with his paw, closed and locked the back sliding glass door so nobody could get into the house. So we had to rush back from Omaha, Nebraska. And when we got back to the house, because Tom and I were fighting, Tom doesn't stick around to clean up the mess that we walked into the house with. No, he goes in the other fucking room, shuts the door, and goes to sleep, and leaves me to clean up after Buddy with shit all over the floor. My bed was destroyed because Buddy not only chewed the cable for he chewed a wire cable that went to my epilady, my 𝒍𝒄𝒉𝒆𝒎𝒊𝒔𝒕 thing for my legs. He took a pen, so there was ink all over my bed sheets. He had totally destroyed my bedding. I had to take the whole bed apart because it had dog fur and a mess. And Buddy had flipped out. He went through separation anxiety. But to walk into the house smelling like shit, and after that long-ass drive at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, by the way, and that asshole going into the bedroom, I was like, you motherfucker. Sorry, but that's how pissed I was. And you leave me to clean up the fucking mess. Thanks for nothing, right? Yeah, I know, right, Eric? I'm a pretty easy person to get along with. But don't fuck with me. And that's my attitude going into this next year, is I don't waste time with people who don't show up to me. If you're not reciprocating, you're not showing up, because I have a standard here. I don't believe in boundaries. You know why? Because boundaries cage you in. I'm not here to create a cage around myself. The right people show up in my life. I'm very blessed. I have a very, very special inner circle. I'm very blessed to have great, wonderful people that I can trust. I don't share a lot of my personal information out here in social media. I actually am private about a lot of different things. But to walk into my house at 5 o'clock in the morning to the smell of dog shit, it was piles all over. Poor Buddy. I mean, I wasn't mad at Buddy. I couldn't get mad at Buddy. It wasn't his fault. But what was upsetting is the fact that I just lost my mother, and now I'm still cleaning up after this asshole. Not once did he show up to support me. It was the whole entire time we were in Omaha, Nebraska, it was all about him and his hissy fits and how he needed attention, and he wasn't he wasn't able to handle the situation. He was upset at my family, and I'm like, fuck off. I got to deal with my family. You go do your own thing. Like, don't tell me how I need to handle my family. I already got my own issues that I got to deal with them. I don't need you being another problem and thorn in my side, which is essentially what he was. I would have preferred to left his ass home, honestly. I would have been a hell of a lot better off. Because even when he drove my car after his car was repossessed, oh my God, that one day I had to drive somewhere. I think I had to teach or something. And I get in the car and there was literally like maybe 5 miles left on the gallon, on the gas. Like him putting gas in the car was a challenge too. Unfreaking believable, the stuff that he put me through, or that I tolerated, that I allowed. Because see, I own it, that I allowed it to get to that point. And I will admit one thing, when you're with a narcissist, you get to a point where like, how the hell did I get in this? And how do I get out of it? Because the way he would handle his hissy fits and his tantrums, you couldn't talk to him because he would turn it into a fight. Even if it really wasn't a fight and he felt threatened, he would make it all about you. He would twist it around in such a way, like the day I asked him, what do you think about getting a job? Well, are you going to get a job? This isn't about me. I asked about you. I'm already working. I'm already paying, providing here. And then he proceeded to go into the group and talk about how I wanted him to get a job to pay my credit cards. Who do you think the credit cards were racked up from? Him. Like, seriously, people? $7,000 on my credit card that I'm still paying to this day. Actually, probably more than that. Because the truth is that I gave him thousands of dollars on his trips over to Hawaii. I didn't get a trip out of that whole 2 years. Nobody paid for anything for me. He didn't help me create my retreats, which was my intention from the start. That I wanted, that's still my passion, and that's still what I intend to do. He said I should coach people. But then he cut me off when he told everybody in the group, oh, you shouldn't pay for anything. So all of a sudden, everybody thought that I should just be giving my coaching advice for free. How do you think that felt? We're going to build this group up, and I'm going to help you create a coaching plan, and I'm going to help you market yourself, and I'm going to help you start and create your retreats. I should have just left his ass up in North Dakota when he was up there, because I would have been better off doing it that next year for myself. I mean, I honestly really wanted to see my mom that year before she died, but I had to deal with a baby. I had apparently adopted a child into my home. I was literally dealing with the man-child. And I have to admit that over this past couple of years, I've been trying to heal from the appendectomy, get my mojo back, my strength, because truly, I worked my ass off. I lost my steam with this whole social media thing because I put in so many hours, sleepless nights, on top of teaching yoga, on top of being part of the yoga teacher trainings and doing the different levels and the Beyond Addictions and the things that I did for me, and part of my seva, my selfless service, the giving of my time and volunteering. That to me is probably one of the reasons I didn't lose my head or lose it completely. Because the thing is I've always stayed dedicated to my practice. You don't know how many times he'd come over and I'd be in the middle of my practice and tell me, you need to stop. You need to be doing what I'm doing. And I looked at him and I said, no, I don't. This is my non-negotiable. And one time I had to slam my foot down and say, no. And he walked away because he knew better. Like, seriously, you are not the boss of me. And he tried so hard and he couldn't get there. He could not do that. I mean, I was up all hours of the night between responding to people, comments, messaging, doing the videos, which my videos ended up turning out better than the way he was doing my videos to begin with. Like, I think he was jealous, and that's why he was competitive. Like, he was mad that every time he'd show me how to do something, I'd improve upon it and make it even better. Why not? My background is IT. He wanted to act like he was the best at all this stuff. But he didn't want to actually share any credit. He wanted it to be all about him. And he was jealous because he always wanted to be front and centered, even though he acted like, I put you front and center when he said that to me. I'm like, this is my natural place. I'm a speaker. That is a part of who I am. I have always been a natural born leader and a teacher in so many different capacities in my life. Everything from the fitness realm to this, you know, the life coaching and the personal development world. I've been doing this for, gosh, how long have I been doing this? I got out of the Air Force in 2008 and I went into government contracting, IT. I have a computer science degree. Like, I've had various lives here, but I really started my own personal health and 2000, I'm sorry, I got out of the Air Force in 2003. 2008 is when I lost my job in Italy. Been kind of rebirthing myself since then. But after I lost my job in 2008, which was February 2008, that's when I started realizing I've got to heal whatever this threat is, whatever this this issue is. And I've really faced it. Like, unbelievable. Like, I don't have to prove myself. I know who I am. There have been various times in my life people have tried to attack me and my character when it was really just showing their weakness. And I don't think that anybody out there ever has to prove themselves. You just have to recognize that you're worthy, and that the people who are trying to insist that you prove yourself aren't worthy of you proving yourself to them. Too often we give more credit to other people than we do to ourselves. So please spread the word. Anybody you think has any inkling or is spreading rumors or talking about Tom and I getting back together, please, let's set the record straight. Ain't happening. He's not welcome in my home or in my driveway or around my home. He sent me text to one time, I don't remember when it was, asking about seeing Buddy, and I didn't respond. From the moment he left, when I said I no longer wanted anything to do with him, now I could have taken the group back because he was using the Tom and Lana account for a little while before he created his own. I turned around and I thought, I could have taken that group. But see, I knew his behavior. And to be totally honest with you, because then as soon as I said I no longer want anything to do with him, he blocked me, and then he blocked my accounts from the group. I even posted a message saying I was leaving the group, and he proceeded to block all of that. That in itself told me everything. Every time he would block me, it was because that was his behavior. He was afraid I was going to do to him what he kept doing to me. And I never did. But you know what is so sad and why I didn't pitch a fit and make a big deal about the group? Is because what's saddest is that's all he has. That's all he had when he left my home. Because his stuff and all that, he had more, he was more addicted to the social media and the group and the attention than he was to anything else. He didn't even care about Buddy. He couldn't take care of Buddy. Buddy even was like, dude, I got a good life here. I'm not going with you. Even when he came to pick up with his stuff, right? And what's this friend of his, Michael? I saw a video of his, and he was pulling the same behavior as I saw with Tom, where he was blaming that girl that he was with, supposedly, and claiming that she beat him up or whatever that stuff was about. I'm sorry, what I saw there was he and Tom have a lot in common. And he came here with Tom to pick up the stuff. Buddy, he ran out, checked out his van, then he came right back up to the door, and Buddy and Tom was like acting like he was telling me that it was okay for me to keep Buddy. And I said, Buddy's already chosen. He's got a good life. He's, if anything, that's the whole reason he probably was ever in my life, is so that Buddy could find his new home. So then there was that time. Okay, so this is the one thing I hadn't said anything about. Can you believe this? Check this out. The audacity of somebody. So I said that at one point he was so worried about what was going to happen to him if something happened to me. Like if I got hurt, where would he live? And then I was like, okay, I know where this is going. Because I'm not naive. I'm not fucking stupid. I bought my house. I made good financial choices in my life. This is paid for. This is mine. He actually had the audacity to imply and ask, well, what about put my name on the house? I didn't even respond. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. But in the back of my mind was like, fuck off. Are you kidding me? You think I'm stupid? Gullible? You gotten away with as much as you have? No. I didn't even validate or justify that with an answer. I just kind of like, yeah, right. So that was one thing. The gall of people, I'm telling you. So you just get to see me in my raw Lana form. I got nothing to hide. Oh, this isn't as icy as it was, but it's still delicious. I mean, I lost my mojo with creating all my wonderful foods with him, because at a certain point, you all saw him go on his yummy nastiness tour, and that was his addiction. That was him acting out what wasn't working out. So he has a food addiction to yummy nastiness. So when things didn't work in the bedroom and he started rejecting me, like, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship. You know, we're just friends. He used to always say that, right, on social media. We're just friends. That was his way of not being rejected. He figured if you rejected me, then he wasn't being rejected. But the reality is it was his issue, not mine. And I was like, whatever. Yeah, there were harmful times, like when my account got disabled the first time in, what was that, March of 2018. And the reason I got disabled was because he was in this room and he was doing stuff on my account, and I was in the other room, and I did something, and the system caught it, and then all of a sudden it kicked us both out. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then he yelled at me like it was my fault. He loved placing the blame. He loved going off on me like it was my fault. Later on, I found out that he was stealing content from other creators and putting my name on it. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So there was a girl on Instagram, and then a bunch of people started coming at me on my Instagram account. And I was like, they were like, that's not nice of you to steal her content. And I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I genuinely thought him being in marketing and in advertising, that he was genuinely using his expertise that he always gloated about. He was such a professional. No, he was a professional liar, copycat, and didn't know how to give credit to other people. So instead of telling me the truth, I thought he was actually making something brand new for me. Turns out that was a lie. He never said yes or no to it either. And so when I found out on my Instagram account, I was pissed. I said, I can't believe, do you know, that's called plagiarism. It's art, it's content, you're stealing. He goes, everybody does it. I said, that doesn't make it right, and that's not my character. That makes me look bad. That's not who I am. I don't do that. And that's one of the reasons I started having trouble working with him, is because he would steal from Twitter. Anything you see on Brandy's page, anything you see on his page, it's not original content. The majority of it isn't. Maybe 1% of it is. Like when he talks or something. And maybe he says certain things, you know, harvest your own garden and all that stuff. I don't even know if that's his. I really don't. At a certain point, you start to wonder what's really somebody's authentic self. And he never really, there were a couple times he revealed a couple little itty bitty snippets and insights into him. But truth be told, he didn't know how to be vulnerable. He knew how to put up a wall and try to act all strong and be controlling and manipulative. But he wasn't doing the healing work. He'd make all these promises. Oh yeah, I'm going to come to your yoga classes when this happens. You know, perfectionism. I can't do this until this happens. He never made the effort to show up to my classes. I mean, what kind of person is like that? Making promises and never delivering. He could make tons of promises he never followed through on. I got to a point where like, whatever. And then he'd act like, well, I watch your videos. I always see them. Like, but he didn't hear them. He didn't actually hear half of what I said. He just edited little snippets here and there, but he really wasn't doing much. I was doing most of it. I was the one who had to edit most everything. And at the very end, I was doing everything. He wasn't doing shit for me, acting like he was doing something. So when I confronted him about the Instagram account that was, the woman had other like followers reach out to me and tell me that I was a bad person for stealing content. And I was like, I'm genuinely sorry. I actually reached out to her directly. I said, listen, I am super sorry. I had no idea. I truly do apologize, because my partner gave me the impression that he was creating new content for me. So I had no access and didn't know that until now. Then I was looking. She not only had Instagram and Facebook and a page and a YouTube account. And I said to him, what made you steal someone's content? You didn't do the legwork to check to see that they didn't have other followings? I said, how do you think that makes me look? And then it makes us, you know, the whole situation. I said, that's forgery. That's stealing proprietary content. That's plagiarism. You can get in trouble for that. He tried to play the game of, oh, well, everybody does it. And I'm like, I don't. That's not me. I have my own original content. And I do know a lot of content creators out there do steal other people's work. They plagiarize and play it off as their own. That's happening all the time. So be careful. Just because someone has a following doesn't make them authentic, doesn't make them real. A lot of those people are stealing content. And I learned this because of him. And I was really sad to witness this because I'm like, look at all these people with these great followings because they're cute and they make it sound good and they know how to market it better. Or maybe they paid to have their followings because a lot of people in the beginning used to have to pay to get those followers. But people don't realize that when you're lying to yourself, you can get easily duped and lied to. So it's easier for you to want to follow psychologically. You'll want to follow someone who has a large following because you think somehow by being connected to that person, it makes you better, or that influence will rub off on you. This is basic psychology. And this is in a lot of different walks of life, by the way. So it always behooves you to really recognize, are you a follower that thinks that following certain people is going to make you, you know, somehow by osmosis absorb that notoriety? Because it's a true thing. It's a real thing happening. So after I confronted him and I told him, I said, do you realize that might be the reason that my account actually got deleted or disabled? Because it was out for like, what, 3 months? It might have been 5 months. I don't remember. And he actually apologized. He came in, he goes, do you really think that's the reason? I said, it's very possible. I said, I'm totally embarrassed. I had no idea. I thought you were doing this from scratch. And you're over here lying to me. And he tried to like schmooze and apologize, but I was like, no, I was disgusted by it because I work hard on my own personal healing, and what I write comes from my heart. I listen to lots of people, but most of the times my words are what drop in as my insights. I want to make sure that I credit people when they have said something, or I am influenced by them, because that's what influencers do. They inspire you or they infuriate you, right? So that was that. What else happened? And then, like I said, you know, here he was doing all this, and he insisted that, oh well, you can copy people's stuff and he would get things off of Twitter. He's like, yeah, you should copy until you have a bigger following, and then you can use your own content. And I'm like, that's stupid to me. If you can't be authentic, what makes you think people are going to still want to follow you? Like, that's happening all the time. I don't know. And I'll be honest, I when this person reached out and said to me, they heard this rumor about us getting back together, I literally laughed. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Who the heck would say this? And I'm sorry, but a lot of the people that follow him either wanted to see him fail, or they themselves connected on a level that was pretty much just as much mentally ill as him. Because that's what happens. When you have some form of sympathy or empathy for certain personalities, a lot of times it's because it's in you too. And we all have a little bit of that in us. We all have a little bit of cray-cray. We all have a lot of hurts and pains and traumas, and we want to see someone come out on top sometimes. And then there's that sick side that says, I really want to see that person fail, so I'm going to keep following and watching them fail. So you got to pay attention. What's your psychology? What is your motivation to follow someone like that? Do you really believe their lies? Or are you lying to yourself and that's why you can't see through them? Because you will defend the same lies that you tell yourself in another. That's true psychology. So I didn't really do anything about it. This person reached out to me a few days ago, and I was kind of like, whatever, I got things going on in my life. When I closed that door, I was not kidding when I say it. I don't just close the door, it's freaking locked. No revolving door in my life. And so I had seen, somehow I ended up on Brandy's page. I didn't even know her birthday is the day before mine. So she's not only green eyes like me, but she also is a Leo like myself. I feel worse for her, though. She's got kids. And I had her parents and her ex-husband reach out to me worried about her. And I didn't talk about that. And I didn't actually want to get involved because it wasn't my stuff. And to be totally honest with you, I didn't want to be involved in any of it. It's not my business. So I went on her page somehow this past summer, right in July, and I saw something that she said she was going through 2 weeks of the hardest thing she'd ever gone through. And I was like, they must have broken up. He's pulling some shit on her. Because that's what he does. That's how he manipulates and tries to control. Is he'll push you away, and it didn't really work for me. Push you away in a way to get you to prove yourself to him and beg to have him come back. Like it's narcissistic 101, you know, classic. So I saw that and I thought, oh, I hope she can stay away from him. And then I saw like a month or two later, I think I might have looked and I don't even look. I honestly don't go looking for this stuff because he blocked me on Facebook. Like when I kicked him out and then he opened it back up and then when I told him I wanted nothing to do with them and he could take the group and shove it because I couldn't do anything about it. I'm like, why do I want anything to do with this? And it was tough because having worked so hard, there's the part of me that was like, I got to start all over again. I not only got left with the mess to clean up, all the bills, his shit all over the place. Like I've never seen somebody with so much clutter and it blading over into my life, which I still have messes out back that I have to deal with. I still have a lot of clutter because he wasn't organized worth a shit. Everything in egg cartons and like little screw there, little screw there. I mean, it just like drove me freaking crazy. Every time I try to organize something, don't touch anything. I know where it is. Are you kidding me? You got to have some order in your life. Like put the screws together or something. But I had noticed it looked like they were back together. And I saw some posts where it had pictures. I guess Michael must have been involved in some moving around. I would have been pissed off if he brought another person to my house. When he was here, one of the things he wanted to do was bring people from the homeless community to stay in the back building when it got fixed up. And I'm like, I don't feel safe with these thoughts that you're coming up with. And then when I kicked him out and he was living in the homeless center, the homeless shelter, he later told me, maybe that's not such a good idea. I've seen how those people are. I'm like, yeah, you think? I'm a single woman. You want to invite these men off the street into my home? I never said I agreed with that. That was in your head. Like he came up with all sorts of ideas he wanted to do, but he wanted to be the one in control and in charge. And then so recently when they told me they thought I was back with Tom, I went and looked at her page today because I didn't do it until today. I hadn't looked in months. I just really don't care. It's not my life. And I was like, the way that her posts read look like he's the one posting. Because he does that in some of the comments. And unless she's using the same tactics and going on Twitter and finding a trending comment and then copy pasting it. But I didn't get any indication that they have broken up. I don't freaking know. I don't care. I just know it's how he tries to regain control when he doesn't feel like he's in control. Is he will push you away. And either he'll come back begging or he'll somehow find a way. Like, because even when he was here, there were a couple times where every time I thought, finally, I just want him out of my life, thinking he was going to leave. The first time I kicked him out, he acted like he went out drinking and came back begging to come in. And I'm like, I don't want you in my life anymore. I don't want you in my home. And I said, if anything, you need to go to the VA and get your VA benefits because I've been paying for everything with mine. Like, that's where I was living off of my benefits, and he was living off of me, living off my benefits. But yet there was a certain point during the relationship where he had the audacity to try to make me feel bad, make me feel guilty for collecting VA benefits that were mine and I was entitled to, but yet he was benefiting from it. Like, some of his audacity and his hypocrisy in statements and comments were just astounding to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? You're living rent-free in my house, telling everybody on our group and our page that nothing should cost anything. It should all be free. Who the heck's paying for it? See, that's the thing. When you're not paying for it, you don't see the problem. You're already milking the cow. So him not having money wasn't a big deal because he wasn't spending his money. He was spending mine. Pretty messed up situation. Really messed up. So I highly recommend anyone out there. Oh, hi, Carly. I miss you too. Don't get involved with people who don't have their shit together. Even if you don't have your shit together, get your shit together. Because nobody wants to be a mother or a father to a partner. Nobody wants to be in a relationship with a man-child or a woman-child. Most of the times it's men-child, I'm just saying. But that's my experience. I haven't been in a lot of relationships like that. That was the first time I've ever been in that situation. And it taught me so freaking much. It taught me that I'm not settling. I'm not settling for less. I'm totally not adopting children into my life. If I'm in a partnership, it's because the man is showing up either at my level or even above my level. And I have no problem with that because I want a partnership, a collaborative, an actual, like, we're going in with the contract of knowing what we're doing together. It's not combative and it's not competitive, because that's the thing. Those aren't healthy relationships if you're with somebody who's a narcissist, who wants to run the show and has to control everything. Run the other direction. Let them go find someone else. Let them go find another mother. And don't feel guilty about it. You don't have to prove yourself. But most people are trying to prove themselves worthy of something they don't have to actually waste energy or time on. So please, if you know of anybody who is wondering, share this video with them. Let them know. Rumors are just abuses on yourself, because when you talk about other people, it just means you don't want to face your own stuff. And if you're willing to create stories around other people's lives, that goes to show you that you got some stories in your own life. Because if you're creating the trauma, and wondering why your life is shit, that's your reason right there. Rumors are destructive. And I don't know if I shared this, but I had a stalker. I had someone sending me, not just me, it was addressed to me, but one time it was addressed to the studio. They came to the studio. I got several messages, several handwritten letters from somebody at my yoga studio claiming that I was involved with you know, like Tom was this, whatever. Yeah. Exactly. Nobody's responsible for anybody's happiness in the end. But if you're not there to compliment it or to uplift me, and I'm, you know, like, and I'm doing all the uplifting for you, you can go. Don't let the doorknob hit you on the ass on the way out. So this stalker, I don't know who it was, but I will tell you I filed a complaint. I know, right, Jessica? Okay, this, real quick. This is my Golden Milk's banana and ice cream, right? Bananas, ginger, lots of chunks of ginger, cinnamon, cardamom, fenugreek, lucuma, some water, mushroom powder because I like the mix of the mushroom powders. I also put some nettle root powder, ashwagandha, horsetail powder, horsetail root, and there's one other thing, mesquite. And it's so freaking delicious. So, and it's got turmeric. I used one of the 𝑳𝒐𝒗𝒆 turmeric drink packets just to make it easier on myself. And it's really, really yummy. Good for inflammation. I've been going to the gym. So in my life, I'm doing all sorts of fun stuff. But let me finish the stalker story. So it got to the point where I actually even got it in the mail at my house. And I'm like, I don't like that. And I did file a police report so that if they did ever show up at my house, to cover myself, just for protection. So one of the letters was actually addressed to the studio, and they were claiming do you know what kind of person you have teaching at your studio? And I have these, by the way. I still have them in my other room. And I mean, they were calling out Tom and all his lies and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this person's really mental too. Because what happens? He attracts mental people. That's just a fact of life. People who are drawn to him are on the same level. It's energy, it's vibration. You just attract where you're at, you know? So when I got these, I was like, wow, this is really crazy. But fortunately, the people in my studio know who I am. They know my reputation. They knew it wasn't true what they were accusing me of. So I wasn't worried about that. But my studio people were more worried about my safety. Like, are you okay? I did end up divulging what I was going through with Tom, though, at a certain point. And I had a woman that I confide in that in the very beginning, before anything even happened, she said, he's bipolar. And I was like, yeah, he is. And meaning he also doesn't have control over his emotions, and that he's got some serious work to do. And he refused to do it. He wasn't doing it with me. And that's why I said, you need to go to the VA because you got PTSD and other issues. I'm sure he's making more money than I ever was when I was, you know, with my disability. I mean, seriously, it's so funny how the VA will award the boys. You know how many years I was fighting to get my disability? Just to get to where I was at with him living with me? Don't even get me started. That's a whole nother conversation. But on a good note, what I have been doing, because I'm a very physically active lady, and because over the past couple years, I've been kind of trying to, this whole appendectomy thing, removing an organ, which they say isn't necessary, but as far as I'm concerned, I think you shouldn't be taking anything out. I think it's all necessary. I have been going to the gym, and this is an amazing gym here in the area, and I love it because I needed that change. Like, I love my yoga, but I needed something to really, like, it's not like a gym where you go and lift weights. It's like gymnastics and strengthening training and acrobatic and really getting into handstands and back bends. And yesterday we were working on splits and preparing the hips and the legs, which I've always been really flexible. And this is just getting me back into the basics for me to strengthen my buttocks, my thighs, my hamstrings. And I kind of tweaked my right shoulder, which is, you know I've been shouldering too much because all of the pain that we feel in our body is a reflection of what's going on in our mind. I teach this all the time. If your spine is out of alignment, it's just telling on your mind. It just tells you all the dogma that you're holding on to that is not in alignment with your heart and soul. I know my body. Thank you, Jessica. I know my body so well that I know when this shoulder started acting up, because this is my right side, is masculine. It's all about the control. And, I like to have control of my life. I don't know anybody who doesn't. But I have been extending myself over this past year. And the reason I did my video on my YouTube talking about accountability is that I'm at a state in my life, this is the chapter of my life where if you're not being accountable, if you're not showing up to me in your authenticity and integrity, you're not going to last very long in my life. I've had to drop people out of my life this past year, and it's been disheartening. And the only reason is because I want everybody to get along. I want everybody to be happy. But if I'm giving and you're just taking and you're not reciprocating and reinforcing what I'm giving you, like, it's good behavior to return the favor. If I need help and I ask you for help and you're not available and you deny me, but I've been giving, and you claim to be my friend, oh, I'm always here for you. Really? Right? Yeah. Fuck off. Fuck off. I love saying that. It feels really good. I was saying that all during the full moon. I had my own little ceremony of, you know what? Don't fuck with me. I'm over here living my life in my best life. I'm not messing with anybody. I'm not bothering anybody. Fuck off if you're fucking with me. I don't have time. I don't have energy. My life is precious. My time and my energy is precious. If you're genuine, I might actually let you in my circle. If you're not, don't expect. You're not entitled. You know, this is a problem with the world, is people think they're entitled to you just because. But that's the problem, is that some people have boundaries and others do not. When we say boundaries, I really like the word. Yeah, I know, right, Nicole? It's become a very favorite word of mine lately. Yeah, that'll happen. Yeah, so when you're not in alignment and you're working and you're pushing in a situation, especially work. I learned that when I was in Italy. I was in a very toxic work environment. And what happened? I hit my head. I had all sorts of, spine alignment issues. Hello, it wasn't in alignment with my heart and soul. At the time, I didn't know that's what that was. I can look back because that's how attuned I am to my body. My body was telling me, this is not a healthy environment for you. If I could go back and tell myself then, go out on your disability. You paid for it, lady. I didn't know. I didn't know better back then, right? Yeah, just stop it. Off. Cut it off. And when people talk about cutting cords, I'm over here going, if you cut a cord, just be prepared. There's always a piece that's going to be left behind. Release the cord. Allow it to release off of you. Don't cut cords, because if you cut cords, there's always going to be that piece left behind. So yeah, alignment in the body, misalignment in the body is showing misalignment in the mind. Same thing with the boundaries. Like, people who don't have a set standard will try to impose themselves upon yours. I just had to deal with my neighbor. I was very patient. I had my boundary survey, my property boundary survey done a year ago. I think I went over to her place to make amends after all the Tom's shit, because he caused problems there too, right? With my neighbors. Because of him, my neighbors were looking at me like I was the bad guy. I went over there and I said, listen, I'm sorry for what happened. It didn't happen between her and I. It happened between her partner and him. And I gave her, a nice little gift. And I said, listen, let's move forward past this. Do you know, she had had the nerve to say this to me. She said, we were really worried about you. I'm like, really? Why didn't anybody say anything to me? Like, you telling me now doesn't make me feel better about this situation. And to be totally honest with you, when someone tells you after the fact, it's like, why are you telling me that? Because it doesn't make you a better person just because you're saying you were worried about me. You're not a better person unless you actually intervened and maybe came over and checked on me. That's such a fake, phony way of putting yourself out there to make yourself sound good. Yeah. So at that time, I said, well, he's gone. He's no longer in my life. October 1st, I reached out to her in a text message. And I mentioned to her that I had a boundary survey done in December when I saw her in February. And she proceeded to say, oh, well, I'm going to have another survey done. And I said, well, actually, the survey shows that your fence is about 2 feet over on my side. And she tried to brush it off. So on the 1st of October, I actually sent her a text message. And I sent her a copy of my survey. And she didn't want to look at my survey and take it for face value, which I found very interesting. Well, if it is in fact, I'd like to have my own survey done. And if it is in fact 2 feet over, then I'll move it then. How about that? Like, she was pushing boundaries. Talk about symbology, people. Pay attention to the signs. Everything's in your face. Like, she was also imposing. And there were a couple times she even brought Tom up in the messages. And I was like, most recently, I finally had to say, listen, I'd really appreciate if for in the future, you no longer bring up the past, because I don't live there, nor does that other person. And they have nothing to do with the situation. I'm just trying to resolve the current situation and establish clear boundaries, right? I was very kind in my messages, but she was very condescending. And at a certain point, she was nasty about it a couple times. Like twice, she actually had the audacity to say, because 3 months went by and she finally had a survey done the 1st of this month. And I said, listen, now that we've established where the boundary is and that your fence is in fact on it's property survey, where your fence is actually on my side of the property, can we resolve this now, please? And she goes, well, it's only been 3 months. And I said, yeah, that's enough time. 3 months is enough time to organize yourself. I said, you didn't want to take my boundary survey, my property survey at face value because you were the one who wanted to get another survey. I think I've been more than patient. I've been a very good neighbor, been patient. I've not gotten anybody else involved. And she was wanting to push it after the first of the year. So she got pissed off because I was pushing the issue. And so she's like, well, then I'll have it taken down on Monday, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not trying to encroach on your property. I'm not trying to steal anything. She had said that twice, by the way. When someone says something, they're telling on themselves. Just pay attention to the words, but between the lines, read between the lines. Because essentially, she said she was going to have that part of the fence taken down. But instead, her partner goes out there, puts it right on top of the boundary line, right on top of the property line. And I actually got upset about that because I'm like, for somebody who claims they're not trying to steal property or encroach, she really pushed the boundary. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? What is it with these people think I'm friggin' naive and they can just keep on pushing boundaries and limits on me? That's where I'm like, fuck off. I haven't been a problem in your life. Why are you trying to make problems with me? Just because you're miserable in your life doesn't mean you got to be a bitch or an asshole to me. Because that's what people do. They create problems where there are no problems. I'm just being, she didn't like that. Number one, I called her out. Number two, that she was wrong. And that I was right in the end. And I wasn't trying to be right. I was just trying to establish clear boundaries. I thought they were going to run a line so I could see where the boundary was exactly. So I had tried to reach out to her and say, listen, at what point is it okay to put it right on top of the frickin' monument? Now I can't even get to it. I can't even establish a clear line. Well, just imagine, she says to me. And I'm like, that's not acceptable. And at what point do you think it's okay that you determine? Don't you think we should agree upon? Couldn't you set it back just a little bit? And she proceeded to say, I'm not moving my fence. And then after the point where I said, well, maybe we need to get someone else out here because I really wanted to see with my own eyes and not try to imagine it. And she was cocky about it. She goes, stop texting me about this. So you notice the types of personalities that are coming out. And this is actually the collective consciousness issue that's going on right now. Is that people are going to push as much as they think they can get away with you. The question is whether or not you're going to step up and stand in your personal power. So this is also what's happening over this next year too, is are you going to be accountable for you in your life? Are you going to let everybody step all over you? Are you going to be willing to hold others accountable? It might be uncomfortable. They may not like it. That's okay. But as long as you're willing to step up for you, you're going to find out where you stand. If you turn around and you just kind of like cower and you act small, they're going to keep pushing and pushing. See how much more they can push over your limits and your boundaries. Yeah. Because the reality is that if you don't stand up for you, nobody else will do it for you. And if somebody else does do it for you, that's not going to help you build your strength, resilience, your character. That has to come from within you. We can't do anything for anybody else. We can't have anybody do anything for us. We have to be our own heroes. We have to be the person that we came here to be. And if we don't keep pushing and exercising our courage muscles in the face of adversity, because guess what? Without our adversaries, we wouldn't be able to be our own superheroes. And I always talk about the truth is that choices are superpower. You can choose whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. It's up to you to make the choice. If you want to allow people to step all over you, there will come a point where you just finally say, I'm done with this. Resentment, frustration, animosity, all that builds up because you in your heart know you're not being true to you. The more you allow others to step and walk all over you, it's going to continue to happen. And some of us already know this. We've been through it. That's what happened to me when I was in Europe. I worked for the government. When I was in the Air Force, people used to think they could just completely control and bowl over me. And I was like, it didn't change my strong willpower. It didn't keep me down. It showed me how many weak people there are out in the world, because when someone's trying to control you, that's just showing the weakness. Their weakness does not determine your worthiness. Their control does not prove you to be weak. If anything, it should remind you how powerful you are, that they're even trying to control you. In a lot of cases, you know, some of us who are out here, we know we're natural born leaders. We're here to step it up, show the world, be the example to inspire others. Hey, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. I'm grateful for all my experiences, because I know where I've been. I sure as hell know where I'm going. Ain't nothing gonna stop me. But I also don't have to tell everybody either. So like, there's also that balance of knowing that what you reveal should be treated as sacred, and only reveal it when you're ready to. Don't do it thinking everybody's going to want to support you, because not everybody wants to see you successful. There are a whole lot more people, they just stick around to see you fall. That's a fact of life. And there are those who are there to cheer you on and uplift you and support you. But be discerning and trust your heart, because the head will try to talk you into thinking that there are those people that you think care, and they really don't. Or maybe they care, but they're jealous or envious, and that's their weakness. Because they don't understand that by you succeeding, that gives them permission and shows them what they're capable of. Not the other way around, where so many people see a person and think, oh, they're going to take from me. Like, that lack mentality doesn't serve anybody. The idea that somebody's going to get more than you, they're going to take from your pot, that's untrue. There's plenty to go around. This is what's wrong with the world now, is most of us have been growing up in these limited mindsets, thinking that there's not enough to go around. That's untrue. There's plenty. Abundance is within your reach. You just got to see past your limiting beliefs. That, again, the body's always telling on the mind. If you really truly believe in your dogma, check with your body. Your body will tell you. The spine being out of alignment tells you that it's not in alignment with your heart and soul. It's not your truth. If you have shoulder pains, what are you shouldering? Whose story are you harboring and holding on to and thinking it's yours? It's probably not. Neck problems, creativity, speaking your truth, expressing yourself, feeling like your voice isn't heard, or someone's trying to silence you. Headaches, migraines, jaws clenching, control issues, overthinking, perfectionism. I'm just sharing some of my experiences. Life is too short to play small because of others. And if anybody out there hasn't noticed, this full moon, that was a doozy, don't you think? You know what the full moon was really about? Full moon in Gemini. Dark, light, you have both. They make you shine bright. Without your dark and without your shadow, you're not whole. You have to embrace your good and your bad, your gorgeous, your ugly, your truth, your false, all of it. If you don't embrace yourself on all your aspects, and you're rejecting any aspect of yourself, you're keeping yourself fragmented, and that's keeping you from being whole. We came here to learn the lesson of how to reintegrate every aspect of ourselves to be whole. That God doesn't judge us based on what we did or didn't do right, or that we did or didn't follow man's rules and laws and governing bullshit. This is our creation. The irony is that we're following the wrong path when we follow man. Man is fallible, right? We are living a life based on lies, based on rules. Who made the rules? Why don't you question that? If you just keep going along blindly, with what you've been told because it's always been that way, boy, oh boy, you got a lot to learn. This life is not meant to be lived in oppressive means and such, because we are living in those times. I want to bring back the golden age. I want to bring back the bling. I want to bring back good quality. Like some of the things that I sit with, because this is where I'm at in my life. Tartaria. Have you done any research into the lost civilizations in history? That all this history that we've been told is all a lie. That the truth is, even the dates are wrong. Everything we've been told about history, his story, has been meant to manipulate, to influence us in supporting it. Yes, that full moon was in Gemini. And by manipulating history, that's all we think we know. We think it's true, but only because we were told such. Where's our proof? Did we really land on the moon? I don't believe we did. Is the world really round? What if it's like the firmament, like said in the Bible? Can you imagine all the truths that are coming to light? All the stuff we thought to be actually is not. That in Tartaria, which could have been a few hundred years ago, not thousands of years, you know, they talk about all this stuff. Oil, the petrol that you put in your car is not underneath the earth. It is not a fossil fuel. It is not. A bunch of oil men got together and said, we got to say it's a fossil fuel because then it looks like it's non-renewable, meaning it can run out, when in reality, it's actually like the blood of the earth. So it's not really a fossil fuel, and a true archaeologist could tell you this, because if you dig down to where the fossil fuels should be underneath the earth's crust, that's not where the oil is. It's in a different level, which is nowhere near fossils. Just one example. But when you look at the history of Tartaria, when they had free energy, and you start to look around the world, what happened with those World's Fairs, that they destroyed these beautiful, massive acres of miles of cities. Were they really created, or were they really already there? Or was it a projection, a hologram? Or, you know, like there's so much that's come to light. And when the CIA released all those papers, the Freedom of Information, talking about the holographic earth, talking about the law of manifestation, the power of the law of attraction. They knew all about this, and everything that's being utilized out in the media today is all basic 101 psychology, propaganda. Isn't it crazy? The truth is in front of us. It's just whether or not you're telling yourself the truth, or you're still lying to yourself to be right, because that's what the mind does. It goes to protect you. So I have kind of always had questions in my mind since I was a little girl, because some things just don't make sense. Like who built all of these massive, beautiful buildings when we supposedly didn't have the technology to build them? You know, these marble, gorgeous, tall doorways. You know, they say that we had giants living back in the day. Or that if you look at all these different, what is it called? Devil's Peak, which looks like a tree stump, a rather large tree stump. There's so much out there, and nobody ever questions it. So you should question everything. I think our history has been so held back from us, and the ancient free energy, especially that. Some of what I've come across, there's a great guy that goes over it if you go on YouTube. Evaron, E-W-A-R-O-N. And he was putting out like hours worth of content that was fascinating. We've had electric cars since the 1800s, people. And they went much further than the Tesla. And none of this is new technology. Technology's been withheld from us. We've got at least 30, 35 years behind what is really available. And if you look at the way things have evolved, they've actually devolved. Why are we eating off of plastic plates? Why are we still eating out of styrofoam cups and like what the quality, BPA free and all this toxic stuff that we're using? But you look at these old buildings, I mean, why can't we make structures that are much more sound and mold free where the old stuff was perfectly fine? When you compare, it's not apples to oranges for sure. But it's like, wait a minute here. You say we're more advanced technologically and our civilization is so advanced and intelligent, but I'm begging to differ. When you go back and you look at all this old technology that's already been in existence, why are we still sitting over here paying for electric, paying for water, just for the basic fundamentals? Been a lot of lying going on in the past, and it's all about control. And even religion, and you come to a point where, you know, they need people to believe a certain amount of information. And, you know, the majority of the world, what is the percentage of Christians on the planet that have all read, you know, all the raptures and the end, the coming of the next Christ and the end of the world and all these doom and gloom? Like, you get enough people to believe that, then you focus the energy there. That's harvesting our energy. It's no different than when you go to a sports game and you have all that collective energy of source, because each one of us is an expression of source, and it's harvesting that energy because it's focusing the attention on something. You can take the energy of people and create something from that, and that's what they have been doing for so long. And all these dates and all these holidays, I don't believe they're holy days, I believe they're holidays, HOLLY, casting spells, it's ritualistic. It's all about things that we don't even know because they don't reveal it. Though then we wonder why these funny numbers that show up, like there's so many synchronicities, like wait a minute. All the news reporters are reporting the same thing. I mean, like they tell you what they want you to believe, which doesn't make it real, doesn't make it true. So many actors out on the world stage. The truth is, all the world is a stage. The question is whether or not you're being the star in your own movie or you're playing an extra in someone else's. And we really need to step it up and literally level up in our own lives. Stop giving your attention, your focus to these crazy storylines going on out in the world, because all that is distraction. All of it. If you can find the neutrality and not get triggered into choosing this or that, or fighting or complying or resisting, all of that, it's the same energy. What you really want is to walk the middle path. It's what the teachers have always said. To be neutral, to not be taken off of your neutrality, your like, know thyself well, so nobody else will be able to get one over on you. When you know thyself well, nobody can take advantage of you. You know your truth, they can't hold it over you either. Because when you own yourself, nobody will own you but you. That's what this mastering of your breath and mastering your mind can master your life. That's what is all of the stuff that I talk about. It's all the stuff I teach about. And this is what I'm passionate about. These are the conversations I like to have. But more and more, I'm just not wanting to be on social media as much anymore. Just, as you know, I got depleted. I want to do what I do, but I don't necessarily want to have to fight or argue or like, you know, have my content silenced and shadow banned. This is one of the problems about being prior military too, because I had the big clearances, and of course I'm watched over, and who the heck knows, you know, because I knew things and I have stories around all that. Like my TikTok was blowing up and all of a sudden, poof, it was gone because, oh, I was talking truth. They didn't like that. And my content even here, I used to get thousands of views on my videos. And then all of a sudden it went down to barely 100 and one sitting, I was like, okay, what's the point? You know, nobody's seeing my content. Obviously, it's not either people don't want to watch my content or I'm literally being shadow banned and silenced. My page, my 𝐿𝒂𝒂𝒍𝒂𝒍𝒂𝒂💂 page getting taken down. I'm like, I didn't even post anything on that account. They got me through stories or something, or somebody might have reported it because I did piss off some people who didn't like what I was saying, whatever. But see, that's the funny part. Everybody thinks their shit doesn't stink, so they think their opinion matters. So it's okay for them to complain. This is what this current culture is all about. It's like, oh, you poor thing, you poor victim, someone upset you, you should be vindicated. Are you kidding me? You don't like it? Go away, fuck off. Nobody's here telling you you have to fight with the person because you don't like it. Go where you're treated best. If you don't like the way you feel around one person, go find other people. This is what's wrong with our current society and culture. Back in my youth, it was like you grew a tough skin. There were a lot of people who didn't like you. You got over it. You're not going to try to force yourself upon someone just because they don't like you or you don't like them. Why are you going to go looking for that drama? Why are you looking for that kind of fight? Why? Or a group of people. Who cares? Go away. Leave them alone and let them be miserable in their space. You be miserable somewhere else. Or go find your joy. See, that's the thing. That's your superpower. Choose your joy. Go where you're treated best. Stop trying to fit in where you don't fit. Stop trying to put yourself, your circle being, your light, your infinite light, in a square hole. Like, really, choose your peace. Or go choose your pain. But either way, it's your choice. And in every time you do something, you're choosing it. Own that. Because when you know you're choosing it, that's the moment you realize, wow, I didn't realize I was choosing my pain, so I can choose my peace too. I can change this at any moment I want. Go look in the mirror. You feel like crap? Go talk to yourself. Look yourself straight in the eye and say, you know what? You're so clever. I love you so much. I know it feels like shit right now, but just remember you're choosing to feel this way. And because you're choosing to feel this way, you can choose at any time to change it. Let me tell you, that will turn into the most, if you're like me, you could turn out into a laughing festival, because when I do that for myself, I'm looking at myself going, I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me, really? We're here again. And you're so fucking clever, and you created this mess, and you decided that you wanted to feel this way, because the contrast of this is what you really want to feel. But in this particular moment, you're choosing to feel this way. And at any moment when you're ready, we can shift this. Shake it off, break off, whatever you got to do. Feel it. Feel into it. Feel as shitty as you want to feel. And when you're ready, you can go the other direction. As soon as you start playing with that, I call it mirror therapy. As soon as you start doing that, oh my God, your life changes. Like, seriously, you are that masterful. You are that clever to create your scenarios. Nobody's doing it to you. You're choosing it. Nobody makes you feel a certain way. That's on you. Triggers, that's your resistance to acceptance. What did I hear earlier by Danielle Lepore? She said, our vices are misused virtues. So it's just like addiction. You know, we get addicted to our pain because somehow it serves us. That's the only reason there's an addiction in our life. Anything can be an addiction. Addiction is essentially anything that satisfies one of the three of the basic human needs, right? It gets us attention, love, and connection. It is consistent. Maybe it's inconsistent too, because inconsistency can also be surprising, but also delightful and in a way that's like, oh, you're there. It also might, like I said, love and connection. It connects you with another person. Someone gives you attention because you're in that pain. Whatever it is that keeps you in your behavior until you actually acknowledge it and it's in your awareness, like, holy crap, that's a pattern. Once you're aware of it, you own it, then you can recognize that it's time for you to change so that you own it as opposed to it owning you. Because these are the unconscious programs running in our subconscious, our unconscious, our background, right? We're computers. We are programmed. We program through experiences. We see somebody do something. We think, oh, that got them attention. I'm gonna implement that into my life. You know, as young children, we learn through observing. You know, we got to meet our needs. You know, if your needs aren't being met, we develop coping mechanisms. We develop survival tactics. And so if we see somebody getting something and we think, oh, wow, that worked for them, we try to implement it into our lives. So we learn through observation, learn behavior. Same thing with the narcissism, same thing with the bully. You know, all these different behaviors are taught and learned through our experiences. And especially if we didn't get enough attention, you know, like I'm convinced my neighbor, her behavior toward me told me, I bet you she was that child that threw a temper tantrum until she got away, because she completely stonewalled me. She wasn't even wanting to have a conversation. She wanted to tell me what she wanted and not give any type of compromise. And I was like, huh, isn't that interesting? People create their drama and the trauma where there doesn't need to be any. So you really just need to observe your stuff. You got to know yourself so intimately. Stop studying other people. Stop trying to figure out and understand others. Go and understand yourself. That has got to be the one thing you should be doing into this new year, because this new year is going to be about accountability. And if you don't get to know, understand yourself, you're just going to be at the beck and call and the mercy and easily manipulated by everything else out there. And I really want everybody to be happy and thriving in their lives, because this life is too short and too precious for us to sit over here and wallow in misery. We were not meant to be in misery. We were meant to come and enjoy this life, not with restrictions and bullshit laws and rules and regulations. I mean, it's gotten way out of hand. Come on. Really out of hand over stupid things. And most of it's extortion for money. Most of it's to keep you small. I'm going to punish you if you don't follow the rules. It's all about avoiding punishment. So people avoid punishment to not experience the pain of punishment. And the punishment can be anything from a physical harm to, oh, they're going to take my money or my house or this or that. It's like, this is total threatening. It's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. All of it's unhealthy. I mean, when it really boils down to it, the stuff that's out there that we actually comply with and go along with, code enforcement. I mean, this past year I had to deal with the code enforcement for my other neighbor who complained about my friend's RV in my driveway. Now, fortunately, I was able to reach out to a representative of our city, and they stepped in for me. I said, listen, you know, the situation's messed up because it doesn't make sense that I should have to pay this fee. You know, I would like to think that I was doing a good favor for someone in a time when people are homeless, and yet the city gets to profit off of a dispute. To me, that's absurd. They're not doing anything about anything. They're just putting their hand out and saying, see, you upset the neighbor and you went against one of the rules. So here, give me some money. For what benefit? Who benefits from that? Anytime cities and governments and states benefit in the form of a fine, none of us get to see the actual benefits of that. Really think about that. It's a true statement. It's just like when you get a speeding ticket because the light camera took a picture of your car. That's another thing I got to deal with. Because I had a car accident this past year. Oh, hopefully nobody's heard that. And as a result, I had to go into Tampa. And the day that I had to go in, I was caught on a camera, didn't cause an accident, and it went through it right at the edge. But of course, it's a 200 and some odd, it's almost $300 of a fine because they took a picture of my car. To me, that's an invasion of privacy. Number two, that doesn't give me an opportunity to confront my so-called accuser. The camera's the accuser. There's no actual person involved. There's a person who digitally signs it, but we don't know. The truth is that it's an administrative fine. It's not even a real fine. It's not a criminal offense. But see, they trick people into thinking, well, I'll just pay this because, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to have any problems. It's all unconstitutional, it's unlawful, it's not real. But that's a whole maritime admiralty bullshit law thing. You know, like, this is what's wrong with our country and our states, is that people are still being bamboozled by the lies. So you just need to be more aware around everything you do and recognize what is worth your time and energy. You know, fighting and complying, like, those are the same energies. You know, whether you're going along with something because you're afraid of the pain, you're avoiding the pain, or you're fighting it because you think you're standing up for what you feel is right. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for everything, and I'm a fighter. I mean, that's the heart of who I am, is like, I would fight to defend another person, and myself and my family, but even this past couple of years, I started to go, you know, that's a setup too. Because if I'm fighting, then how am I going to live my life? Why am I going to go where I'm not being treated well? Why am I going to continue? There's a great guy on that I follow, Nomad Capitalist, and I love the tagline that he uses is, go where you're treated best. So many of us are going into these situations with a closed fist, looking to argue with people who don't want to accept us or work with us. So why are we doing that? Why are we fighting against things that aren't meant for us to begin with? I see so many people trying to fight to have their children go to school, and I'm sitting there shaking my head, go, why do you even want to send your children to those schools? They're not the kinds of schools you want educating your children if you have to fight with them. If you have to worry about their safety in a school, I'd find another school. But that's just me. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. But we all have to choose our pain or our peace, and it's always a choice. All right, it's almost 10 o'clock. Okay, I think I said my piece. Happy winter solstice. Set your intentions for this new year. Be more understanding of yourself, because it's about you. Into me I see. Honing your spidey senses. Tapping into your 5 senses. Tapping into the spirit. That is the breath of God. Every time you take a breath, that is the breath of God breathing into you. That is your life force. That is your prana. Don't let anybody get between you and your breath. When you cover your face, that is cutting off your connection to God. It's all psychological. And the biggest war that's going on right now is right up in here in your mind. All the stuff going on outside of you, what triggers you is your work to do. Everything that you see that is just like, upsetting you, that means you just got that work to do. You need to lean into, what is that really about? What is that really about? We all have pain that is reappearing in our lives. It's there for us to heal, not to keep on re-experiencing. But we only re-experience it because we just didn't get the lesson. And so that's why I say, understand thyself. Know thyself so well. Harness the breath. Master your mind. Master your life. Tap into your 5 senses. Tap into your body's wisdom, the soma, the somatic. The sum of your mind is your body demonstrating and mirroring what's really going on up in here. Everything you feel, you got to feel it to heal it. When you feel into it, there's a message in your pain. There's a message in your body. Whatever sensations are rising has a gift. It has something to share with you that will make you that much more intuitive and knowing of you. Nothing is a coincidence. It's designed as your guidance system. It's meant for you, not against you. So stop denying the body sensations and thinking that your body is failing you. Your body is working perfectly well. It's just that most people are that tuned out, and you need to tap back in. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that, Robin, Lynn. I love you all so much. Have an amazing evening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notifications bell so that you get notified when I go live, because I do most of my lives on YouTube. I don't know how long I'll be over here. I'm going to set up my own webpage, lanalabonte.com. I already bought the URL. And please pass this on to anybody who buys into these so-called rumors, because to be totally honest with you, I thought that was pretty freaking hilarious. And let your motto be, don't fuck with me, just go fuck off. I love you so much. Stay fun, keep the humor, and tap into your inner child. She and he needs to get out more and play. Love you. Sweet dreams.